You know what really pisses me off? When people act like I'm the bad guy for wanting to experience life on my own terms. Like, is it really that crazy to want a little freedom? I'm Gabby, 23, and I'm about to tell you how my boyfriend of 4 years completely overreacted when I suggested something that wasn't even that big of a deal. Anthony and I met when I was 19. I'd never really been single, always jumping from one relationship to the next. But with him, it felt different, more stable, you know? We moved in together after 2 years, and everything was going according to plan. Then COVID hit, and we were stuck in our tiny apartment, driving each other nuts. Just as things were getting back to normal, I got a serious brain concussion in a car accident that basically kept me bedridden for over a year. I'm not gonna lie, Anthony was there for me through it all. He'd work all day, then come home and take care of me, make dinner, help me to the bathroom when I could barely walk. The whole thing, I know that sounds amazing, and it was, but also it was suffocating. By the time I started feeling better, I realized I'd spent my entire early 20s either in a relationship or literally confined to our apartment. I hadn't lived at all. So when I finally recovered enough to function normally, I decided I needed to go on a solo trip. 3 months backpacking across Europe, something I'd always dreamed about. Anthony was supportive at first, saying I deserved to have some fun after everything I'd been through. He even helped me research destinations and hostels. But then I brought up what I thought was a perfectly reasonable suggestion. I'd been thinking. I said one night while we were making dinner, what if we had like an open relationship while I'm away? His face immediately changed. What? I've never been single as an adult, I explained. I've always been in relationships. I'm not saying I want to break up. I love you, but this might be my only chance to experience what it's like to be on my own without, consequences. Anthony stared at me like I'd suggested we rob a bank. Are you serious right now? You want permission to cheat on me? It's not cheating if we agree to it, I said, rolling my eyes. And it goes both ways. You could hook up with people too. I don't want to hook up with other people, he said. Do you? That's not the point, I said, feeling defensive. The point is freedom. Experience. I've never had that. We argued for hours. He kept saying things like, that's not how relationships work. And if you want to be single, then be single. He completely missed my point. I wasn't asking to end our relationship. I just wanted to experience something different without having to give up what we had. The next day, he brought it up again. I'm concerned that you even suggested this. He said, all serious. It makes me wonder if you're actually happy with me. Of course I'm happy with you, I said. This isn't about you. It's about me getting to experience something I never have before. Because it matters to me, he said, getting all emotional. I've been here for you through everything. And now you're telling me you want to sleep with other guys while you're traveling? I didn't say that specifically, I argued. Even though between us, that's exactly what I meant. And besides, it would just be physical. It wouldn't mean anything. He set a boundary right then, said if I did anything while away, our relationship would be over. No discussion, no compromise. Fine, I said eventually. I choose you 100%. But inside, I was seething. Who was he to limit my experiences? The week before my trip, I decided to try a new approach. I invited Anthony out to that little Italian place he loves and wore his favorite dress. I figured if I could get him in a good mood, maybe he'd be more open to compromise. I've been thinking about what you said, I told him over dessert, reaching for his hand. And I understand your concerns. He looked relieved. Thank you. That means a lot. I was thinking maybe we could find a middle ground, I continued. What if we set some rules? Like, we only tell each other general stories about our time apart, not specific details. His expression changed immediately. Rules for what, exactly? I said, trying to sound casual. For while I'm away, we could have like a don't ask, don't tell policy. He pulled his hand away. Gabby, we already discussed this. Either we're in a committed relationship or we're not. But that's so black and white, I argued. Vicky says she and Matt have all these rules that make their arrangement work. They can flirt but not kiss, or kiss but nothing more. There are options. I don't care what Vicky and Matt do, he said, his voice getting louder. That's not us. An older couple glanced over and I felt my cheeks flush. Can you lower your voice? I hissed. You're making a scene. I'm making a scene? He laughed. You're trying to negotiate terms for cheating on me in public. It's not cheating. I insisted. It's an arrangement. And it would only be physical. Don't you want me to live a full life? I want you to live a full life with me, he said. Is that really so controlling? In my head, I was screaming yes, but I kept my cool. I just think you're being insecure. If you really loved me, you'd trust that no matter what happens on this trip, I'll come back to you. Trust isn't about letting your partner sleep with other people, he said. It's about believing they won't want to. We barely spoke on the drive home. I tried bringing up the compromise idea a few more times, but he shut me down every time. After the third attempt, he asked me point blank if I was already planning to cheat on him. Of course not, I lied. I'm just trying to be honest about what I want. Isn't that what couples should do? Communicate? There's a difference between communication and manipulation, he shot back. That hit a nerve. How am I manipulating you? By being honest about my feelings. By trying to wear me down into accepting something you know I'm not okay with, he said. If you want to be single so badly, then be single. But don't expect me to wait around while you find yourself in some other guy's bed. I almost broke up with him right then. Who talks to their girlfriend that way? But my trip was only 3 days away and I'd already paid for everything. Plus, I didn't actually want to lose Anthony, I just wanted more, so I backed down. Fine, forget I mentioned it. I'll be faithful. The morning of my flight, Anthony drove me to the airport. He hugged me extra tight to Kiri. Promise me nothing will change, he whispered. I promise, I said, fingers crossed behind his back, not because I was planning to cheat. I wasn't, not exactly, but because I didn't want to be bound by promises. When I was supposed to be experiencing freedom for the first time in my life, my first stop was Barcelona. For the first week, I was pretty much the perfect partner. I video called him every night, sent cute updates throughout the day, and turned down a drink offer from a local guy at a tapas bar. I even texted Anthony about it, thinking he'd be proud of me for being faithful. Instead, he seemed annoyed that someone had hit on me in the first place. Why are you going to bars alone? He asked. Because I'm traveling alone, I replied, rolling my eyes. What am I supposed to do? Hide in my hostel? By the second week, the constant check-ins were starting to grate on me. I was trying to have adventures. And there was Anthony texting me every few hours, asking what I was doing, who I was with, when I'd be back at my hostel. Then I met Zoe, an Australian girl staying at the same hostel in Valencia. She was on her own year-long trip around the world and had the most incredible stories. One night over sangria, she told me about her fling with a Brazilian surfer, a weekend with an Italian chef, and a magical night with a French artist. What about your boyfriend? I asked, assuming she had one back home. She laughed. No boyfriend. Total freedom. That's what traveling is all about, right? Finding yourself. I smiled, but inside I felt jealous. That's exactly what I'd wanted. What I still wanted. But instead, I was spending half my trip texting updates to Anthony. What about you? Zoe asked. You're not here with anyone, right? You should come to this beach party tomorrow. The guys who invited me said they're bringing friends. I hesitated, then agreed. A party didn't mean anything would happen. I was just making friends, experiencing the local culture. I didn't mention the party to Anthony during our call that night, not because I was planning anything bad. I wasn't. But because I knew he'd make it into a bigger deal than it was. The party was everything it should be. Music playing, people dancing on the sand, drinks flowing freely. That's where I met Philippe. Tall, tanned with a slight accent that made even the most ordinary words sound interesting. He knew all the best spots in Valencia. The restaurants tourists never find, the hidden beaches, the secret viewpoints. When he offered to show me around the next day, I said yes without hesitation. It wasn't a date. It was a local showing a tourist the authentic side of his city. I didn't tell Anthony about Philippe either. Over the next few days, I started to pull away without really meaning to. I'd miss a call here, take hours to respond to a text there. Every time my phone buzzed with another text from Anthony, I felt a flash of irritation. Here I was, finally having the adventure I dreamed about. And he couldn't give me space to enjoy it. One night, after showing me a breathtaking sunset from a cliffside spot only locals knew about, Philippe kissed me. And I kissed him back. It meant nothing, I told myself. Just part of the experience. A fleeting moment in a foreign country. It wasn't cheating. Not really, just a kiss. But it didn't stop at a kiss. Back in my hostel, guilt gnawing at my stomach. I did what any reasonable person would do. I picked a fight with Anthony. He'd send a text asking if I was back safe, and somehow it set me off. I called him, already fired up. Why are you constantly checking on me? I demanded. Don't you trust me at all? Of course I trust you, he said, sounding confused. I just worry about your safety. I'm not a child, Anthony. I can take care of myself. We argued for almost an hour. I said things I didn't mean. Brought up old fights. Accused him of trying to control me. By the time we hung up, we were both angry, and I felt relieved. Like I'd created enough of a distraction that he wouldn't suspect anything about Philippe. The next day, when Philippe texted asking if I wanted to go to a wine tasting, I said yes without hesitation. When he brought me back to his apartment afterward, I didn't stop him. And when he kissed me again, I didn't think about Anthony at all. I didn't call Anthony that night or the next. When he finally reached me, frantic with worry, I told him my phone had died and I couldn't find my charger. He sounded relieved, apologized for our fight, said he missed me. I miss you too, I said. And in that moment, I almost meant it. Almost. For the rest of my time in Valencia, I lived a double life. With Anthony, I was the dutiful girlfriend, sending safe updates about tourist attractions and local food. With Philippe, I was someone else. Entirely carefree, adventurous, unburdened by promises or guilt. I told myself what Anthony didn't know wouldn't hurt him, that I'd leave this all behind when I moved on to my next destination, that it didn't count if it was in another country. The night before I left Valencia, Philippe asked for my number, said he wanted to keep in touch. I gave it to him even though I knew I shouldn't, even though I planned to block him as soon as I was on the train to my next destination. But I didn't block him. And when he texted me photos of our spot by the cliffs saying he missed me, I texted back. When he suggested meeting up in Barcelona before I flew home, I didn't say no. Meanwhile, Anthony was planning his visit, 2 weeks with me in Italy, the final stop on my trip. He sounded excited on our calls, talking about all the places we'd go together. I tried to match his enthusiasm, but all I could think about was how I'd managed to keep my secret from him. My next few weeks were a blur of cities, sights, and increasingly elaborate lies. I'd tell Anthony I was tired from sightseeing when really I was hungover from nights out. I crafted a sanitized version of my trip for him, one where I was always alone, always thinking of him, always counting the days until his visit. As his visit approached, I began to panic. What if he somehow found out? What if Philippe texted while Anthony was with me? The web of lies I created suddenly seemed fragile. I considered coming clean. Just once, late at night in a Paris hostel, I drafted a text telling him everything. But I deleted it before sending. The thought of losing him was too much to bear. 3 days before Anthony was set to join me in Rome, Philippe texted again. He'd found cheap flights to Rome. He could come see me, he said, just for a day or two before my boyfriend arrived. I should have said no immediately. Instead, I hesitated. Told him I'd think about it. Before I could reply, another message came through. This one from Anthony. A simple, sweet note saying he couldn't wait to see me. That these 3 months had been the longest of his life, but he was proud of me for taking this journey. Shame washed over me. I looked at the 2 messages side by side. Philippe's suggestion of one more secret meeting. Anthony's declaration of pride and love. For the first time since Valencia, I saw my actions clearly. I blocked Philippe without responding. Then I stepped onto my hotel balcony and cried. The crying didn't last long. By evening, I convinced myself that blocking Philippe was enough, a clean break. A fresh start. Anthony would arrive in 3 days, and we'd pick up where we left off. He'd never know what happened. I spent those days deep cleaning my social media, deleting conversations, untagging myself from photos. I built a version of my trip that Anthony would approve of, erasing all traces of the real one. When Anthony's plane landed, I was waiting at arrivals with a nervous smile. I ran into his arms, kissing him with what I hoped looked like unrestrained joy. I missed you so much, I said. And that wasn't a lie. Part of me had missed him. Missed the safety and comfort of our relationship. Not as much as I missed you, he replied, holding me tight. For a moment, I let myself believe everything would be okay. That we could move past this without him ever knowing. But I'd gotten good at lying over the past months. I kept my balance that first day. And the next, showing Anthony around Rome with rehearsed enthusiasm, answering his questions about my trip with carefully edited stories. I thought I was pulling it off. I really did, until I wasn't. 5 days into Anthony's visit, my phone lit up during dinner. We were at a little trattoria near the Colosseum. Sharing a bottle of wine, holding hands across the table like the perfect couple we were pretending to be. The notification was just a preview, enough to show Felipe's name and the first few words. I know you blocked me, but I had to try one more. Anthony saw it before I could grab my phone. I watched his face change as he read the name, the message. Watched confusion give way to suspicion, then hurt. Who's Felipe? He asked, his voice eerily calm. Just someone I met traveling, I said, aiming for casual but landing somewhere around terrified. A local who showed me around Valencia, I thought. He was just being friendly, but he got weird and started texting too much. So I blocked him. For a moment, I thought Anthony might believe me. He nodded slowly, took a sip of his wine. So if I look at your phone right now, that's all I'll find. Just innocent tour guide texts that got weird? My heart dropped. You want to look through my phone? Don't you trust me? I did, he said quietly. But you're acting really strange right now. Because you're interrogating me in the middle of dinner, I protested. This is exactly what I was talking about before my trip, you being controlling and insecure. Let me see your phone, Gabby. No, that's an invasion of privacy. What are you hiding? Nothing, I just have a right to privacy. Our voices were getting louder. People at nearby tables were starting to stare. Anthony took a deep breath, visibly trying to calm himself. Okay, he said finally, you're right. You have a right to privacy. So let's talk about something else. Tell me about Valencia. He didn't share many photos from there. It was a trap and I knew it. But what choice did I have? I launched into my pre-prepared stories about Valencia. The tourist version, the safe version. I was halfway through a boring anecdote when Anthony's phone chimed. He glanced at it, then looked up at me with such pain in his eyes that I knew immediately what had happened. Funny thing, he said, his voice shaking slightly. I just got a message from someone named Zoe. She says she met you in Valencia and has been trying to reach you. Says she has information about you and Felipe she thinks I should know. My blood went cold. Zoe? How did she even know about Anthony, let alone have his number? She says you two talked a lot about me, Anthony continued. She says you showed her pictures, told her all about us. About how controlling and insecure I was for not wanting an open relationship. About how you were going to live your life anyway, because what happens in Europe stays in Europe. I couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stare at him as my carefully constructed lies collapsed around me. She says she felt guilty, Anthony went on. Says she encouraged you at first but didn't realize how serious we were. Didn't know I'd been there for you through your concussion. That we lived together. That we had plans. She found me on your Facebook and thought I deserved to know. Anthony, I finally managed. It's not what you think. What did you do, Gabby? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. What did you do in Valencia? I could have lied again. But what was the point? The truth was catching up to me. It was just physical, I said, tears streaming down my face. It didn't mean anything. I was just having experiences like I wanted to before the trip. If you had agreed to the open relationship like I asked, this wouldn't even be an issue. His face hardened. So this is my fault? You cheated on me because I wouldn't agree to let you cheat on me? I didn't cheat. I mean, yes, technically, but it wasn't about you. It was about me experiencing life, having freedom after being trapped for so long. No, he said, standing up. I don't understand betraying someone who loves you. I don't understand lying for months. I don't understand blaming your partner for your choices. He threw some euros on the table for our unfinished dinner and walked out. I ran after him crying, causing a scene in the middle of a Roman street. Anthony, please. It was a mistake. It won't happen again. He stopped, turned to face me. You're right about that. It won't happen again. We're done, Gabby. You can't just end things like this after 4 years? After everything we've been through? You ended things, he said. You ended things the moment you decided to lie to me, to betray me, to blame me for your choices. I'm just making it official. He walked away then. And this time I didn't follow. I stood in the street, tears streaming down my face, watching the best thing in my life disappear around a corner. I spent that night alone in our hotel room, alternating between sobbing, sending desperate texts that went unanswered and raging at how unfair it all was. Yes, I'd made a mistake, but did that really erase 4 years of history? Did Anthony have to be so dramatic, so unforgiving? I woke up hoping he'd have calmed down, that we could talk rationally, but there was nothing. No calls, no texts, no Anthony. Just a notification that he'd changed his flight and would be leaving Rome that morning. I went to the airport, thinking maybe I could catch him, explain better, make him understand. But his flight had already departed. He was gone, the last 2. Weeks of my trip passed in a blur of misery. I couldn't enjoy anything. Not the sights, not the food, not the freedom I'd supposedly wanted so badly. All I could think about was what I'd lost, and for what? A few meaningless hookups with a guy whose last name I couldn't even remember? When I finally flew home, I was certain Anthony would be there, that we'd have a big, dramatic reunion, that he'd forgive me, that we'd move past this. That's how these stories were supposed to end, right? But Anthony wasn't at the airport. He wasn't at our apartment either. His things were gone. Clothes, books, the weird collection of vintage video games he loved. All that remained were the things we'd bought together. The life we built, now half empty and hollow. I called him, texted him, emailed him, nothing. I tried his friend Brian, who answered coldly that Anthony didn't want to talk to me. I asked where he was staying, and Brian laughed. He's not hiding, Gabby. He moved out, got his own place, started over. You should do the same. I couldn't believe it was really over, not after everything, not without a proper goodbye. Not without a second chance. As days turned to weeks, reality began to sink in. Anthony wasn't coming back. Our relationship, our plans, our future, it was all gone because of one stupid mistake. Because of my selfishness. Because I thought I could have it all without consequences. 3 months after returning home, I ran into Brian at a coffee shop. I asked about Anthony, hungry for any information. He's good, Brian said, his tone making it clear this conversation would be brief. Really good, actually. Got a promotion, started seeing someone new. Seems happy. The words hit me like physical blows. Anthony was supposed to be devastated without me. He was supposed to be miserable, waiting for me to win him back. Instead, he'd moved on completely. Who is she? I asked, unable to help myself. Brian shrugged. Just someone he met through work. She seems nice, normal, trustworthy. The emphasis on that last word was unmistakable. 6 months after returning from Europe, I was still living in the apartment we'd once shared, still working the same job. Still single, but everything had changed. I had no real friends left. My family, while supportive, clearly thought I'd made my own bed. Meanwhile, through social media breadcrumbs and unwilling updates from mutual acquaintances, I'd learned that Anthony was thriving, new apartment in a better neighborhood. Promotion at work. Still dating the same girl, apparently getting serious. Weekend trips, dinner parties, like a life that looked bright and full without me in it. And I'd wanted freedom, experiences, a chance to find myself. Instead, I'd lost the only person who truly knew me, who'd stood by me through the darkest year of my life. And for what? Memories I couldn't even enjoy because they were tainted with regret. The worst part wasn't the loneliness or the regret or even seeing Anthony move on. The worst part was knowing, deep down, that I had no one to blame but myself. I'd made my choices. I'd lied, cheated, manipulated. I'd broken something precious and irreplaceable. It's not fair, I whispered to my empty apartment. One mistake shouldn't erase 4 years, but it wasn't one mistake. It was 100 small choices. 1,000 little lies. It was putting my desires above our relationship, my freedom above his. Feelings, it was betraying the person who'd never betrayed me. If I could go back, I'd do everything differently. I'd appreciate what I had instead of craving what I didn't. I'd recognize that true freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. About choosing what really matters and committing to it fully. But I couldn't go back. All I could do was move forward alone, carrying the weight of what I'd lost, what I'd thrown away. I'd asked for an open relationship before my solo trip. He'd said no, so I called him insecure. Turned out, he wasn't insecure at all. He simply knew his worth. And now, so did I, far too late.